The combat training hall stretched out before Kate like a massive arena. Reinforced walls bore scars from countless training sessions, and the floor was made of some dark composite material designed to withstand heavy impacts. Morning light filtered through observation windows, where other instructors gathered to watch the day's exercises. Instructor Vex stood at the center of the hall, beside a human-shaped training dummy that was mounted on a reinforced base. The dummy's surface gleamed with sensor panels that would measure impact force and display the results on nearby screens. Alien recruits from various species lined the walls and waited for their turn to demonstrate basic striking techniques. Combat in the Coalition forces requires proficiency in multiple fighting styles, Vex announced. His voice echoed through the hall. Today we assess your natural striking power and technique. Kate stood with the other human recruits near the back of the group. She watched as a Krindari student approached the dummy and delivered a thunderous punch that made the entire base shudder. The display screen lit up with numbers that seemed impressive based on Vex's approving note. Tulgarian went next and used two of his forearms in rapid succession. Each strike registered high on the measurement scale, and the instructor praised his form. More recruits took their turns while Kate observed their techniques carefully. She noticed how they planted their feet and rotated their hips to generate maximum force. Adequate performances, Vex said after a Veshkari completed her attempt. Now let us see what our human recruits can accomplish. The tone in his voice made several alien students chuckle. Kate felt Ben tense beside her, but she remained calm and kept her breathing steady. She had expected this moment since yesterday's assessment revealed humanity's supposed weakness. You there, Vex pointed at Kate. Step forward and show us your species' combat capability. Kate walked to the training dummy while whispers followed her movement. She heard comments in various languages, but picked out enough Coalition standard to understand the general sentiment. They expected her to fail or produce embarrassingly weak results. Demonstrate a basic straight punch, Vex instructed. He crossed his arms and watched her with that same amused expression from yesterday. Use your dominant hand and strike the center target. Kate positioned herself in front of the dummy and studied the target zone. She thought about the gravity limiter she wore on her wrist like all humans in Coalition space. The device kept her body weight and strength adjusted to galactic standard levels. Without it, she would be dangerously strong in this environment. She raised her fist and threw a careful, controlled punch at the dummy's chest. The impact made a soft thud and barely moved the target. The display screen flickered and showed a number that was less than half of what the previous recruits achieved. Laughter erupted from the watching aliens. Not cruel exactly, but definitely condescending. They saw confirmation of their assumptions about weak garden world humans, who evolved without real challenges. Vex didn't even try to hide his amusement. Is that truly your maximum effort? No, sir, Kate replied quietly, and perhaps you were nervous. Vex said with exaggerated patience. Try again and give us your absolute best strike. Do not hold back. More laughter rippled through the observers. Kate heard someone comment that maybe she could match a juvenile Tulgarian if she tried hard enough. Another voice suggested humans needed padded equipment to avoid injuring themselves. Ben stepped forward with anger on his face, but Kate caught his eye and shook her head slightly. This wasn't the time for arguments or explanations. She turned back to the training dummy and considered her options. Sir, Kate said carefully, are you certain you want me to use full strength? Vex laughed louder than before. Yes, human. Show us this mighty full strength of yours. Strike with everything your species possesses. The other instructors in the observation deck leaned forward with interest. Clearly, they found entertainment in watching the weak human try to impress her superiors. Kate saw the mockery in their expressions and the complete certainty that she would fail to produce anything noteworthy. She reached down and deactivated a gravity limiter with a quiet click. The change was immediate and dramatic. Kate felt her true weight settle onto the floor as Earth's actual gravity reasserted itself through her muscle memory. Her body remembered the belt colonies where she lifted mining equipment and worked in conditions that ranged from crushing gravity to near weightlessness. She adjusted her stance the way her father taught her years ago. Feet planted shoulder-width apart and knees slightly bent. Her center of gravity dropped lower, and she felt the power coil through her legs and core. This was how humans really stood when they weren't pretending to be weak. Kate took one breath and drove her fist forward with every ounce of strength her Deathworld body possessed. The impact sounded like an explosion. The training dummy shattered into fragments that scattered across the hall. The reinforced base crumpled like paper, and the floor beneath her fist cracked in a spiderweb pattern that spread outward for several meters. Chunks of composite material broke free and fell into the newly formed crater. The display screen sparked and went dark after flashing numbers that exceeded its maximum measurement capacity. Emergency alarms began wailing as the station's structural monitoring systems detected the damage. Red warning lights bathed the hall in pulsing crimson illumination. Complete silence filled the space except for the alarms. Every alien in the room stood frozen with expressions of shock that transcended species differences. Jaws hung open and eyes widened while brains struggled to process what they just witnessed. Vex stared at the destroyed dummy and cracked floor. His reptilian face showed an emotion Kate had never seen there before. Genuine fear mixed with disbelief. His confident posture had collapsed into something much smaller. "What?" he finally managed to say. "What are you?" Kate looked at the damage she caused and felt a twinge of guilt. She hadn't meant to destroy the equipment so completely, but holding back precise amounts of strength was difficult when she removed the limiter entirely. "Human, sir." She answered simply Ben, and the other human recruits wore matching grins. They had all been holding back the same way Kate did. Every single one of them carried the strength of a high-gravity death world in bodies that looked deceptively fragile. Emergency repair crews rushed into the hall with equipment to assess the structural damage. A team of engineers surrounded the crater and spoke rapidly in technical jargon. One of them looked at Kate with something approaching awe. Commander Halley's appeared at the observation deck window. His forearms gestured urgently for Vex to bring Kate to his office immediately. The instructor nodded and turned to her with a completely different demeanor than before. "Come with me," Vex said quietly. All mockery had vanished from his voice. Kate reactivated her gravity limiter and felt her weight return to normal levels. She followed the instructor out of the hall while aliens parted to let her pass. Their whispered conversations now carried tones of respect mixed with nervous uncertainty as they walked through the corridors toward the command section. Kate noticed how other beings gave them wide berth. News of what happened in the training hall was already spreading through the station's communication networks. "I apologize," Vex said without looking at her. "I made assumptions based on incomplete data." "Yes, sir," Kate replied. "Your species." He continued, "You have been hiding your true nature." Kate thought about how to answer that question. Humanity hadn't exactly hidden anything, but they hadn't volunteered information either. Earth's governments wanted to join the coalition as partners, not threats. "We prefer to be underestimated, sir," she finally said. "It reveals who judges based on assumptions rather than evidence." Vex made a sound that might have been a laugh. A valuable lesson. One I will not forget. They reached Commander Hallis's office, where answers about Earth's true classification would finally emerge. Kate Morrison pressed her face against the transport window and watched the massive space station grow larger with each passing moment. Sentinel Prime hung in the darkness like a giant metal flower with dozens of docking arms reaching out in all directions. Lights flickered across its surface where thousands of beings from across the galaxy lived and worked. The young woman had traveled far from Earth's asteroid belt colonies, where she spent her childhood working in mining operations alongside her father. That life felt distant now as she approached the Galactic Military Training Academy. Humanity had joined the coalition only 3 months ago, and Kate was part of the first group of human recruits selected for military training. First time seeing the station? A familiar voice asked from the seat beside her. Ben Carter grinned at her with that easy smile he wore, no matter the situation. They had met on the transport ship from Earth and quickly became friends during the long journey. He was from the surface cities while Kate grew up in space, but they shared the same nervous excitement about what awaited them. "It's bigger than I imagined," Kate replied quietly. She watched alien ships of strange designs drift past their transport. Some looked like living creatures, while others seemed impossible in their geometry. Ben laughed and shook his head. "Everything about this is bigger than I imagined. When I signed up, I didn't think I'd actually get selected." The transport shuddered as it connected with one of the docking arms. Automated systems took control and pulled them into the station's interior. Kate felt the artificial gravity shift slightly as they entered Sentinel Prime's environmental zone. It was lighter than Earth standard, but heavier than the Belt colonies where she grew up. Other human recruits gathered their belongings and lined up near the exit. Kate counted 23 faces, including herself and Ben. They represented Earth's first attempt to prove humanity belonged among the stars. The pressure to succeed weighed heavily on her shoulders. The airlock opened with a hiss and revealed a massive reception hall beyond. Kate stepped through and stopped in her tracks. Dozens of alien species moved through the space on various errands. Some walked on 2 legs, while others had 4 or 6 or more. Heights ranged from waist-high creatures to towering beings that must have stood 3 meters tall. A reptilian figure approached the human group with smooth, confident strides. His scales gleamed dark green under the station lights, and his eyes were vertical slits that studied each recruit carefully. He stood nearly 8 feet tall with a muscular build that spoke of natural strength. "Human recruits." His voice rumbled like distant thunder. "I am Instructor Vex of the Krindari species. I will oversee your initial combat training." Kate noticed how his gaze lingered on their group with something that looked like amusement. The other aliens in the hall glanced at the humans with similar expressions. Whispered conversations in languages she couldn't understand floated through the air around them. "Follow me to orientation," Vex commanded and turned without waiting for confirmation. The humans exchanged uncertain glances but obeyed. They walked through corridors lined with viewing windows that showed the station's internal structure. Training facilities sprawled across multiple levels, while dormitories and command centers occupied other sections. Everything was built on a scale that made Kate feel small. They entered a large briefing room where other recruit groups already sat in organized rows. Kate recognized several species from the Coalition database she had studied during the journey. The Tulgarians with their 4 arms sat in one section while insectoid Veshkari occupied another. Dozens of other species filled the remaining seats. Vex directed the humans to empty seats near the back. Kate noticed how the other recruits watched them with curiosity mixed with something else. Pity maybe, or condescension. She kept her expression neutral and sat down beside Ben, a Torgarian officer with deep blue skin and 4 arms. Crossed over his chest, stood at the front of the room. His name tag identified him as Commander Halleys. "Welcome to Sentinel Prime Academy," Halleys began. His voice carried easily through the space. "You represent your worlds and your species. The Coalition has high standards, and many of you will not complete this training." He activated a holographic display that showed success. Rates by species. Kate felt her stomach sink as she saw the statistics. Krindari had an 82% completion rate, while Tulgarians boasted 79%. Other species ranged between 60 and 90%. For our newest members, Halleys gestured toward the human section. "We have adjusted expectations accordingly. Earth has been classified as a low-gravity garden world with minimal predatory threats. Your species evolved in comfortable conditions compared to most coalition worlds. Murmurs rippled through the other recruits. Some sounded sympathetic, while others barely suppressed laughter. Kate felt heat rise in her cheeks, but forced herself to remain calm. She knew what the databases said about Earth. And technically, the information wasn't entirely wrong. Humans will begin in foundational courses, Hallease continued. Physical assessments will determine your appropriate training level. Do not be discouraged if you require additional time to meet basic standards. Ben leaned close and whispered. They think we're weak. Kate nodded slightly, her jaw tight. The assumption wasn't surprising given how humanity had presented itself during first contact. Earth's governments decided to emphasize their peaceful nature and technological achievements rather than physical capabilities. The strategy made sense for diplomatic relations, but created unfortunate misunderstandings. The orientation lasted another hour as various instructors explained schedules, rules, and expectations. Kate absorbed the information while observing how other species interacted. The Krindari recruits radiated confidence, while smaller species like the 3-foot-tall Pixari seemed nervous despite their higher success rates when the briefing ended. Vex directed the human recruits to follow him again. They walked to the physical assessment center, where various exercise equipment filled a cavernous room. Each piece was designed to accommodate different body types and strength levels. We begin with basic measurements, Vex explained. His tone suggested he found the whole process tedious. Strength, endurance, reaction time. This determines your starting point. Kate watched as alien recruits performed exercises that looked simple but proved challenging. A Tolgarian lifted weights that must have massed 200 kilograms, while a Veshkari completed an obstacle course with blinding speed. Both made their task look effortless. Humans first, Vex called out. Let us see what your garden world produced. Kate heard the mockery in his voice but said nothing. She stepped forward with the other human recruits and completed the basic tests. Her results fell within human normal ranges, but appeared weak compared to the alien performances she had witnessed. Vex studied the datapad with a shake of his head. As expected, you will need significant conditioning before attempting standard combat training. We can handle it, Kate said quietly. The instructor looked down at her with those reptilian eyes. Perhaps with time and effort, you will reach adequate levels. Tomorrow we begin with hand-to-hand fundamentals. Try to keep up. He dismissed them and Kate walked with Ben toward the dormitory section. Her friend's frustration was obvious in every step. They think we're jokes. Ben muttered. Kate remembered her father's words before she left the Belt colonies. He told her that actions proved worth better than words ever could. She thought about the gravity she grew up in and the strength required for mining work in variable conditions. She thought about what the Coalition databases didn't know about Earth's true nature. Let them think what they want, Kate replied softly. We'll show them who we really are. Tomorrow's combat training would reveal more than Instructor Vex expected. Kate looked forward to the demonstration with quiet anticipation. Commander Hallease's office was larger than Kate expected, with walls covered in displays, showing various parts of the station and training schedules. The Tolgarian commander sat behind a desk designed for his forearm physique and studied a datapad with growing concern on his blue features. Explain, Hallease said the moment Kate and Vex entered. Explain how a recruit from a classified low-gravity garden world just destroyed reinforced training equipment and cracked composite flooring rated to withstand heavy weapons fire. Kate stood at attention and kept her voice level. Sir, the classification of Earth in Coalition databases contains significant errors. Errors? Hallease set down the datapad and fixed her with an intense stare. The preliminary survey was conducted by certified xenologists. They measured Earth's gravity at 0.97 standard units. That measurement is accurate, sir, Kate replied. But the conclusion drawn from it was not. Vex shifted uncomfortably beside her, clearly still processing his earlier assumptions, being shattered along with the training dummy. Allie's gestured for Kate to continue speaking. .97 standard is considered low gravity by Coalition standards, Kate explained. Most species in the Coalition evolved on worlds between .8 and .9 standard. Earth's gravity exceeds that range. Understanding began to dawn on Hallis's face. The preliminary survey team used their own frame of reference. Yes, sir, Kate nodded. They compared Earth to their homeworlds and assumed it was lighter. In reality, Earth's gravity is equivalent to high-gravity death worlds, like the Krindari homeworld. Vex made a choking sound. His species evolved on a planet famous for crushing gravity and dangerous megafauna. Suggesting that humans came from similar conditions contradicted everything he believed about the fragile garden world. Hallis activated his desk terminal and pulled up Earth's complete survey file. He scrolled through atmospheric composition, temperature ranges, geological activity, and other environmental factors. His expression grew more concerned with each data point. Extreme weather patterns. He read aloud. Frequent seismic events, diverse predator species, high oxygen content leading to larger organisms throughout evolutionary history. Earth is an active world, sir, Kate said. Our species evolved to survive in variable conditions. Variable is an understatement, Hallis muttered. He pulled up comparative data with other Coalition worlds. Your planet experiences temperature swings that would be considered uninhabitable extremes on most civilized worlds. Your oceans contain pressure zones that exceed our engineering safety limits. Vex finally found his voice again. But you seem so, he struggled for words. You appear fragile. Your bone structure looks delicate compared to Krindari or Torgarian physiology. Kate almost smiled at that. Appearances can be deceiving, sir. Human bones are actually denser than Krindari bones by mass. Our muscle fiber composition allows for extreme exertion, and our cardiovascular system evolved to function under high stress. The gravity limiters, Hallis said suddenly. All humans wear them in Coalition standard environments. Yes, sir, Kate confirmed. Without limiters, our natural strength would be dangerous to other species and station infrastructure. We assumed this was required protocol. Hallis stood and began pacing with all four arms clasped behind his back. You assumed. No one ever explicitly told you to limit your strength. No, sir, Kate replied. But when we arrived and saw how Coalition databases classified Earth, we understood that revealing our full capabilities might cause, she paused, diplomatic complications. So your entire species has been pretending to be weak? Vex asked with something like admiration in his voice. Kate considered how to phrase her answer. We preferred to demonstrate our value through competence and character rather than physical intimidation. Humanity wants to be partners in the Coalition, not threats. Hallis stopped pacing and looked at her with new understanding. A wise strategy for a newcomer species. But it created dangerous misunderstandings about your true nature. Yes, sir, Kate agreed. The commander returned to his desk and began typing rapidly. I am requesting immediate medical scans of all human recruits. We need accurate baseline data for your species, within an hour. Kate and the other 22 humans were processed through the medical bay, where alien doctors ran comprehensive scans with increasingly shocked expressions. The results confirmed everything Kate explained and revealed additional surprises. Dr. Nira, a small pixie with large eyes and delicate hands, presented the findings to Commander Hallis, while Kate and several other humans waited in the briefing room. Their bone density is extraordinary, Nira said, her voice high and fast with excitement. Muscle fiber arrangement allows for both explosive power and sustained endurance. Their healing factor surpasses most Coalition species by significant margins. Healing factor? Hallis interrupted. Yes, Commander. Nira pulled up medical imaging. Observe how quickly this subject's microfractures from training have already begun repairing. What would take a Torgarian 5 days takes a human less than 2. Ben leaned over to Kate and whispered, "We heal fast." Kate shrugged slightly. She never really thought about it before. Growing up in the belt colonies meant dealing with constant minor injuries from mining work. Everyone just accepted that cuts and bruises disappeared quickly. Nira continued with her report. Their visual range includes frequencies most species cannot perceive. Their auditory system detects both higher and lower sound waves than Coalition standard. Most remarkably, their brain processes sensory information at rates comparable to Veshkari, despite having completely different neural architecture. Are you saying humans are natural warriors? Vex asked from where he stood near the back. I am saying they are natural survivors, Nira corrected. Their evolution optimized them for adapting to threats and overcoming challenges. Whether that manifests as combat ability depends on training and choice. Ali's absorbed this information and then turned to Kate. You grew up in asteroid colonies? Yes, sir, Kate confirmed. My father worked mining operations in the belt. What was the gravity in those colonies? Kate thought back to her childhood. Variable, sir. Some stations maintained Earth standard, but most ran lighter to save energy. My father trained me to adapt quickly when moving between different gravity zones. So you have experience functioning in both higher and lower gravity than Earth standard, Ali said. Which means your performance here is actually restrained compared to what you could achieve in your natural environment. The implications of that statement hung in the air. Kate saw other instructors exchange concerned glances. If humans were this strong while holding back, then what were they truly capable of unleashed? Commander, Kate said carefully, humanity joined the coalition because we value cooperation and knowledge sharing. Our strength is a tool we offer in service of mutual protection, not domination. Hallie studied her for a long moment. You speak wisely for someone so young. My father taught me that power without purpose is just violence, sir, Kate replied. Humans have purpose in the coalition. The commander nodded slowly. Very well. I am ordering immediate recalibration of all human training protocols. You will be moved to advanced combat courses with appropriate equipment modifications. Sir, Kate interrupted. I would like to request permission to continue with Instructor Vex. Every being in the room turned to stare at her. Vex looked particularly surprised by the request. He underestimated me based on incomplete information, Kate explained. But he also apologized and showed willingness to learn. Those are qualities I value in an instructor. Vex's reptilian features showed something that might have been gratitude. I would be honored to continue training you. If you will accept my instruction despite my earlier failure. Kate met his eyes and nodded. Yes, sir. Hallie's made a note on his datapad. Approved. Instructor Vex will oversee human combat training with specialized protocols. This incident has taught us all valuable lessons about assumptions. As the meeting concluded and Kate walked back to the dormitory with Ben and other human recruits, she felt satisfied with how things had developed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but now they would face them as equals rather than underestimated weaklings. 3 weeks passed since Kate cracked the training floor, and the atmosphere at Sentinel Prime Academy had transformed completely. Human recruits no longer received condescending remarks or pitying glances. Instead, other species approached them with curiosity mixed with healthy respect. Kate stood in a newly reinforced training hall that engineers had modified specifically for human use. The floor was now rated for impacts 3 times stronger than standard equipment, and the walls featured additional bracing. Training dummies were built from materials normally reserved for ship hull construction instructor. Vex watched from the side as Kate practiced a complex striking combination. Her movements flowed smoothly from one technique to the next while maintaining perfect balance and control. She wore her gravity limiter at half strength, which allowed her to train with real force while not destroying equipment. "Better," Vex called out. "But your elbow position drops during the third strike. Maintain alignment through the full sequence." Kate nodded and reset her stance. She appreciated how Vex had adapted his teaching style over the past weeks. He no longer treated her as fragile, but instead pushed her to refine technique and precision. Raw power meant nothing without the skill to apply it effectively. A group of Krindari recruits entered the hall and waited respectfully for the session to finish. Kate recognized them from advanced combat courses, where she now trained alongside the Academy's elite students. They wanted to practice with her because fighting a human provided unique challenges. "Your session is complete," Vex announced. "Remember to work on that elbow alignment during your personal practice time." "Yes, sir," Kate replied. She bowed slightly in the Krindari tradition, which Vex had taught her as a sign of mutual respect between warriors. The instructor departed and the Krindari students approached. Their leader was a male named Rax, who stood even taller than Vex with scars marking his scales from years of training. "Kate Morrison," Rax greeted her formally. "Would you honor us with a sparring match?" "Of course," Kate smiled. She had grown to enjoy these practice sessions with students from other species. Each had different strengths and fighting styles that taught her new approaches. They cleared the center of the hall and took positions. Rax moved with the confidence of someone who trained since childhood. His species were natural fighters with instincts honed by generations of survival on a brutal homeworld. The match began, and Rax attacked with a series of powerful strikes. Kate deflected and redirected his force rather than meeting it head-on. Vex had taught her that technique could overcome raw strength, and she applied those lessons. Now she ducked under a sweeping arm and countered with a precise strike to Rax's midsection. He grunted and stepped back with approval in his eyes. They continued trading attacks while other students gathered to watch the display. "Your speed increases," Rax commented between exchanges. "You adapt quickly." Kate used his forward momentum against him and executed a throw that Vex demonstrated last week. Rax hit the reinforced floor with a satisfying thud, but rolled smoothly back to his feet. The watching students made sounds of appreciation in various languages. The sparring session lasted another 20 minutes before both fighters called a halt. They were breathing hard and sporting new bruises, but both wore expressions of satisfaction. "You would make an excellent Krindari warrior," Rax said. "Your spirit matches your strength." Kate felt genuine warmth at the compliment. Earning respect from a species like the Krindari meant more than any official commendation. "Thank you. You push me to improve my defense." The other students took turns sparring with Kate while she focused on applying Vex's corrections. By the end of the session, her elbow alignment had improved noticeably, and her combinations flowed more naturally later that evening. Kate sat in the common area with Ben and several other human recruits. They discussed their various training experiences while sharing a meal of Earth food that recently arrived from supply ships. "Did you hear about the new protocols?" Ben asked. "Command is redesigning human equipment across the entire Coalition fleet." Kate nodded. She had seen the reports about ships being modified with reinforced duty stations and upgraded structural supports. Humanity's true capabilities required corresponding adjustments to work environments. Fleet Admiral Jang is visiting tomorrow, another recruit named Lisa mentioned. Apparently, she wants to address all human personnel at the Academy. Kate knew about Admiral Jang from news reports. She was among the first humans to achieve flag rank in Coalition forces and had earned her position through exceptional tactical skills. Her visit to the Academy was significant. The next morning, all 23 human recruits assembled in a private briefing room where Admiral Jang stood waiting. She was shorter than Kate expected with silver hair and sharp eyes that seemed to evaluate everything simultaneously. At ease, Jang commanded, "I am not here for formality." The recruits relaxed slightly but maintained attentive postures. Jang walked back and forth in front of them while she spoke. 3 weeks ago, Kate Morrison revealed humanity's true nature to the Coalition. Jang began. Her actions forced conversations that our governments had been avoiding since first contact. Kate felt everyone's eyes turned toward her, but kept her own gaze focused on the Admiral. Earth's leadership made a calculated decision to downplay our physical capabilities during initial diplomatic exchanges. Jang continued, "We wanted to be welcomed as partners, rather than feared as potential threats. This strategy succeeded in gaining coalition membership but created dangerous misunderstandings." She stopped and looked directly at Kate. "Your instructor mocked you because he believed humans were weak. That belief could have gotten people killed if it persisted into actual combat situations." Kate understood the implications. If coalition forces expected humans to be fragile, they might make tactical decisions based on incorrect assumptions about human survival limits. "You handled the situation with remarkable restraint and wisdom," Jang said. "You could have injured Instructor Vex or other students when you demonstrated your strength. Instead, you directed your force at equipment and maintained control even when provoked." "Thank you, sir." Kate replied. Jang addressed the full group again. "All of you have shown similar judgment. Humanity's reputation in the Coalition now rests on more than just our strength. It rests on our character and our commitment to cooperative service." She activated a holographic display showing military statistics. Human recruitment numbers have increased by 300% since Kate's demonstration. Applications to the Academy have flooded in from across Coalition space. Everyone wants to see what humans can truly accomplish. Ben raised his hand, and Jang nodded for him to speak. "Sir, does this mean we are being promoted?" "No." Jang smiled slightly. "You are being entrusted with greater responsibility. Each of you will help design training protocols for future human recruits. Your experiences and insights are invaluable." Kate felt pride swell in her chest. Not just for herself, but for all 23 of them, who had navigated these early weeks with dignity and determination. Kate Morrison. Jang turned to her specifically. "You have demonstrated exceptional combat skills and strategic thinking. Upon graduation, you will be assigned to an elite Coalition patrol unit." "Sir," Kate said carefully, "I would prefer to remain here as an instructor." Surprised murmurs rippled through the room. Jang raised an eyebrow. "You would choose teaching over active service?" "Yes, sir," Kate replied. "Instructor Vex taught me that sharing knowledge creates more value than individual achievement. I want to ensure future human recruits receive proper training from someone who understands both human capabilities and Coalition expectations." Jang studied her for a long moment. "Very well. Your request is noted and will be considered. Whether you serve as an instructor or in the field, you will make humanity proud." The Admiral departed after answering questions and offering encouragement. Kate felt satisfied with her decision. She had found purpose at this academy that extended beyond personal glory. Vex found her later that day in the training hall. "I heard about your request to become an instructor." "Yes, sir," Kate confirmed. "You would give up adventure and glory for a teaching position?" he asked. Kate smiled. "You made me better, sir. I want to do the same for others." Vex made that sound that might have been a laugh. "Perhaps humans are not so different from Krindari after all. We also value the passing of knowledge to new generations. Perhaps we have more in common than databases suggest, sir." Kate replied. The instructor nodded. "Continue your training. Whether you teach or fight, you must remain sharp." Kate returned to practice with renewed focus. Her future was uncertain, but her purpose was clear. 6 months had passed since Kate Morrison cracked the training floor at Sentinel Prime Academy. She now served aboard the Coalition patrol ship Starbound as part of its security detail. The vessel cruised through the outer sectors, maintaining peace and responding to distress calls. Kate stood at her duty station, monitoring sensor readings while the mixed-species crew went about their routines. The initial nervousness about serving with a human had faded as her crewmates witnessed her competence and dedication. She had proven herself through countless drills and exercises. The ship's captain was a methodical Torgarian named Kess, who ran a tight but fair operation. He valued skill over species and promoted based on merit. Kate respected his leadership and had learned much about shipboard operations under his command. Distress signal detected. The communications officer announced, "Civilian transport under attack in the Vela system." Captain Kess moved to the tactical display. "Distance?" 20 minutes at maximum speed, sir," the navigator replied. "Set course." Kess ordered, "All hands to battle stations." "Kate, prepare your security team." Kate activated the shipwide comm. "Security team to armory." This is not a drill. She arrived at the armory where 10 crew members from various species were already suiting up in combat gear. They looked to her for leadership, and she felt the weight of that responsibility. "Standard boarding protocols," Kate instructed. "Stun weapons and less lethal force is authorized. Our priority is hostage rescue." The team acknowledged and finished their preparations. Kate checked her own equipment twice and made sure her gravity limiter was set to appropriate levels. Fighting in a ship's corridors required precision and control. Starbound shuddered as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The main view screen showed a civilian transport listing badly, while a smaller pirate vessel attached to its hull like a parasite. Weapons fire had scarred the transport's exterior. "Pirates are Velcron," Tactical reported. Reading 15 heat signatures aboard the transport, Captain Kess studied the tactical data. "The Velcron are aggressive raiders known for taking slaves. They will not surrender easily." Kate knew about the Velcron from intelligence briefings. They were a brutal species that augmented themselves with combat implants and cybernetics. Their culture glorified strength and despised weakness. "Hail them." Kess commanded. The pirate vessel's captain appeared on screen. He was massive, even for a Velcron, with metal plating fused to his skull and arms. His eyes glowed with artificial enhancements. "Coalition ship," the pirate growled. "Leave now or we execute the hostages. Release the civilians and we will allow you to depart." Kess replied calmly. The pirate leader laughed. "You have no leverage. We control 53 lives. You are outgunned and surrounded." Kess pointed out, "Then you will watch them die." The pirate cut the transmission. Kate felt anger rise in her chest but controlled it. Emotions were useful in combat only if channeled properly. She focused on the mission parameters and possible approaches. "Captain," Kate said, "request permission to lead a boarding team." Kess turned to her. "The Velcron will fight to the death." "Yes, sir," Kate acknowledged. "But they expect coalition forces to value their own lives over hostage safety. We can use that assumption against them." The captain considered her words. "What do you propose?" Kate outlined a plan that relied on speed and surprise. Her team would breach through the transport's emergency airlocks while Starbound positioned itself to block the pirate vessel's escape. The Velcron would focus on the larger ship and not expect the boarding action from behind. "Risky," Cass observed, "but feasible." "You have authorization." Kate gathered her team and explained the plan. They moved to the shuttle bay where a small boarding craft waited. The journey to the transport took only minutes, but felt longer as Kate reviewed every possible complication. The boarding craft attached to the transport's rear airlock with a gentle thud. Kate's team cycled through and entered the civilian ship's corridors. Emergency lighting cast everything in red shadows. 3 hostages located ahead, her scanner operator whispered. 2 pirates guarding them. Kate signaled for the team to split up. She led 3 members forward while the others secured their exit route. They moved silently through the damaged corridors until the hostages came into view. 2 Velcran pirates stood over a group of terrified civilians. Both raiders were heavily armed and augmented. Kate calculated angles and distances in her mind. On my mark, she vocalized into her comm. Her team moved as one unit. Stun weapons discharged, and both pirates collapsed before they could react. The hostages cried out in relief as Kate's team secured them. Move to the shuttle, Kate ordered. Quietly, the rescue proceeded smoothly as her team located and freed small groups of hostages throughout the ship. They had rescued 42 civilians when alarms began blaring. They know we are here. A communications specialist reported Kate heard heavy footsteps approaching. The remaining pirates were converging on their position. She directed her team to fall back with the rescued hostages while she covered their retreat. The pirate leader appeared at the end of the corridor with 5 heavily armed raiders behind him. His augmented eyes locked onto Kate and widened with surprise. A human? He snarled. They send children to fight Velcran warriors? Kate stood her ground. Surrender and you will be treated fairly. The pirate leader laughed and drew a massive blade from his back. I challenge you, human. Single combat for the hostages. Kate knew Velcran culture placed great importance on individual duels. If she defeated their leader, the others might actually honor the terms. It was a risk, but refusing would guarantee a firefight that could kill hostages. Accepted, Kate said. But if I win, your crew surrenders peacefully. Agreed, the pirate growled. When I win, your crew leaves and we keep our prizes. His subordinates formed a circle while Kate removed her weapons and set them aside. The pirate leader towered over her with augmented muscles bulging under his armor. He probably outweighed her by 100 kilograms. Humans are weak garden worlders, he taunted. This will be quick. Kate said nothing and centered herself. The pirate charged with surprising speed for his size. She sidestepped and let his momentum carry him past. Her counterattack targeted the joints in his augmented limbs, where flesh still connected to metal. The pirate roared and swung his blade in a wide arc. Kate ducked under the strike and delivered a palm strike to his midsection that made him grunt. They exchanged blows while his crew watched with growing uncertainty. You are stronger than you look, the pirate admitted. But still no match for Velcran might. Kate had been fighting at half strength to conserve energy and assess his capabilities. She saw how his augments provided power but reduced flexibility. The enhancements that made him fearsome also created exploitable weaknesses. Fight seriously, the pirate demanded. You mock me with restraint. Kate met his glowing eyes and made a decision. She reached down and deactivated her gravity limiter completely. The change in her stance and posture was immediate. She felt Earth's full gravity settle through her body and remembered training in the belt colonies. Every ounce of strength that evolution and environment had built into human physiology became available. The pirate sensed the shift and attacked with renewed aggression. Kate caught his blade hand and twisted. The augmented limb bent at an impossible angle, and he screamed. She followed with a strike to his chest that sent him crashing into the bulkhead. His subordinates moved to intervene, but Kate raised her hand. Your leader agreed to single combat. Honor your word or fight me next. They hesitated, and the pirate leader struggled to his feet. Respect had replaced mockery in his expression. What are you? Human, Kate replied simply, from a death world called Earth. The final exchange lasted only seconds. Kate used his augmented weight against him and executed a throw that Vex had taught her months ago. The pirate leader hit the deck hard and did not rise. I yield, he gasped. Kate helped him stand. Honor your agreement. The pirate leader looked at his crew. We surrender. Coalition security teams moved in and took the pirates into custody. All 53 hostages were rescued without casualties. Captain Cass himself came aboard the transport to oversee the operation. "Exceptional work, Kate," he said. "Your plan succeeded perfectly." News of the rescue spread quickly through coalition networks. Recordings of Kate's duel with the Velcran leader became training material at academies across known space. Instructor Vex sent her a message saying he showed the footage to new recruits. Kate received commendations and praise, but what mattered most was the grateful expressions on the rescued civilians' faces. She had used her strength to protect rather than dominate, and that aligned with humanity's values. Weeks later, she stood in the Starbound Dawn's observation deck and looked out at the stars. Ben's voice came through her com with news from the academy. 20 new human instructors just graduated. He reported cheerfully. "Your recommendation program is working." Kate smiled. Humanity had found its place in the coalition through both strength and wisdom. They were no longer underestimated as Wheat Garden worlders, but respected as capable partners. She thought back to that day when Instructor Vex laughed at her weak punch and how everything changed when she struck with real force. The lesson had echoed across the galaxy in ways she never imagined. Being underestimated had been useful once, but